Hey guys, PierceKlugs here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over another Hytale article, and if you guys want to keep up to date with all Hytale material, subscribe to my channel, and I will be posting Hytale videos at least once to twice a month, depending on how often the articles come out. Now, for this article, we're going to be reading through the creation of a new point of interest for Adventure Mode. And this talks mostly about the development process for the Hytale team. So this isn't something that pertains to the gameplay by any means, but it does give us a sneak peek of some of the things that are going to be in Hytale. Now, they do say that some of these are examples, and we're not entirely sure if these are going to work. So let's go ahead and get started. Building content for Hytale involves a collaborative process we've developed in the course of more than 3 years of work on the game. In this post, we're going to demonstrate this process by showing how our artists and World Team developers work together to create new prefabs. As detailed in our first post on World Generation, prefabs are essentially blueprints for new environmental features, which means anything from rocks and trees to entire structures and special encounters. For this example, we're going to be focusing on the elemental stone circle portion of interest, specifically the earth circle found in Zone 1. In this case, an initial rough build was done in-game to outline the basic look and feel of the prefab. So they're kind of giving us an example here with these little stones, these green stones, and then there's something in the center. Basically, you see these prefabs all throughout the world of Hytale, in the adventure mode specifically. Not sure if it's in other versions, but we know it's in the adventure mode. Now, one of the biggest things that we can say about Hytale is the fact that it's very, very, very meticulous about their prefabs, and it's going to be pretty much just like the schematics, how they were in Minecraft when people used to go into these little software actual setups, and they were able to make schematics, whether it be a Minecraft tower or whatever build they wanted. It could be a schematic in game. These are very early version This very early version established the mood of the piece and also its role in game. Points of interest like these are aspect of Hytale's World Quest system. They provide reasons to go exploring, and the idea is that players will come to recognize the type of encounter they're about to face, whether they see one. The exact challenge provided by each of these elemental stone circles may differ, but each acts as an arena for combat encounter that is triggered when players interact with the area in a particular way. So, no matter what, anything you see that is prefab circle related, you might want to run. Or, if you're prepared and up for the fight, then a great reward is upon you. These designs were created by artist Polonia Lagato. I don't know why I say Gagato. Lagato. The creation of a new prefab often begins when an artist is provided with a brief, but the nature of this brief varies. There are two ways, usually, Polina says. The first is that we have some idea of what we want to do, but no visualization yet. We know that it might be a cave, for example, and in the cave will be an interaction with a certain NPC. I know the zone, I know the NPC, and roughly what's going to happen. But that's it, so I have a lot of freedom. In this case, I would do 3 to 5 rough variants, and we'll pick 1 or 2 to develop further. For a prefab like these stone circles, the brief was a little more fixed. For the stone circles, the description is self-explanatory, Polina says. Each should represent the zone it is in, and should be a certain size. My task is to provide ideas in terms of colors and the types of blocks that can be used, what the atmosphere could be, and the general shape. The world team doesn't follow this first iteration to the pixel. They can take these pictures and try to recreate the mood in general, see what's possible to build, which looks as close as possible to what I envision. So we're going to actually take a look at the actual picture here. We see that there are a lot of circle based. So for example, that's almost zone 1. We can see zone 3, and then we have zone 3 and 4, or 2 and 4, excuse me. And we have all the zones here, and each one is set up accordingly. And honestly, it's really cool how they have like this combat area arena set up. So it's almost like there's an altar in the center of each one, which we might want to take note of in the future. For example, this one right here, it's actually like a star, and again it's a circle. And then right here, I think they're gonna get the circle as well, but anyways. This shot shows an early version of the prefab, built in-game by a World Team developer, Baxter. At this stage, the challenge is to adapt to the original art in block form, choosing block types, applying extra details, and establishing the size and shape of the point of interest as it will appear to players. If I'm working on something that's been painted, I'll do a build as close as I can get to it, with the idea that sometimes things aren't painted in block form, Baxter says. At this initial stage, artists and World Team developers don't necessarily work together. The idea is that concept artists establish their own vision for a piece, and then the World Team adapts it using their understanding of the block system. For this reason, we don't require artists to design with blocks in mind. In the 3.5 years that I've been doing this, only maybe once did we draw something that wasn't possible for the World Team to build, Polina says. They can build anything, and I try not to go with too many curves or complicated shapes because it can look noisy. But more or less, I try to really limit myself because the World Team is excellent at avoiding this in the final builds. I know it'll look good, and that's kind of amazing, and it comes with experience. And again, you can kind of see the transformation here, how they have the blocks right here, and then the paint, block, paint, block, paint. And they're not really showing us what the little emeralds look like. I don't think they have them implanted yet. At this point, that collaboration on the new prefab begins in earnest. You can see one example of this above. Polina has taken the screenshot of Baxter's build and produced what we call a paint over. Using the in-game build as a base, she has provided ideas for implementing the flow of the stone circle as depicted in the original concept art, albeit now adapted for the scale of the piece as it will appear in-game. I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be a word or not. I don't know. We'll see. It need to be more layered. Have a sequence, Baxter says. In addition to paintovers, artists and World Team developers will also take advantage of the dev server to gather feedback and work on improvements to the design. We'll look around and try to understand how it looks from a player point of view, Polina says. Is it interesting enough? That takes a while. They'll look at my notes, try to recreate them, and add their own ideas. There are usually 5 or so iterations in-game compared to just 2 at the drawing stage. I get a lot of feedback, and there's more to work with. And that is awesome. As a final product right here, you can see all the detail that was put in, and especially the glow now, you can see that from the transformation. Here's an example of the finished Earth Circle as it may appear in-game. May is an important word because the final step in implementing a new point of interest like this is incorporating it into Hytale's world generation system. This means establishing rules that determine where and how it can spawn, and how the prefab might adapt to create a consistent overall effect despite potentially disappearing in a variety of different contexts. Generally speaking, you're more likely to find a stone circle on flat ground where the effect of original concept art can be consistently realized, but if the circle does appear on a hill or cliff edge, the prefab spawning system will adapt to the shape to suit. There's a lot of randomization that can happen with one layout of the circle. And I think that is one of the biggest things in Minecraft, was how we were stuck with something like that. We were stuck with schematics that were able to adapt to a certain area, and they look nice on top of that. This is the end result we're aiming for, a unique landmark that combines the feel of a handcrafted build with the dynamism, yes, provided by WorldGen. We've built thousands of prefabs so far, of varying degrees of complexity, and we'll build many more as we continue to flesh out each of the zones that make up the world of Orbis. As for what exactly happens when you activate an elemental stone circle, well, you're just going to have to wait and see. In the meantime, here are a few more examples of point of interest created using prefabs. And I think these look really awesome. So here's a ruined settlement, and the detail on it is amazing. I really love it. I think that is probably the best one out of all of these three. There's a Torque watchtower, so of course we're going to have some enemy mobs that will have their own little areas. And a crumbling castle, which looks even better. Now remember, take note guys, that a lot of these prefabs will have underground areas, depending on if they're buildings or not, just because we've noticed a lot of underground structures, and that is being pushed a whole lot with Hytale, especially during their trailer. And on top of everything else, we see photos of underground everything. So I know this has been a little bit of a long video, but I wanted you guys to be able to get as much information on this as possible. So thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.